I still remember the night everything turned upside down. Ethan Whitford, a real estate tycoon with more mansions than friends, came home earlier than usual. He swung open the double doors of his Beverly Hills palace, expecting silence, maybe the faint hum of the staff cleaning. Instead, he froze at the sound of his 8-year-old son Noah laughing. Not screaming, not slamming his head against the wall like usual. Actually laughing. And then his eyes landed on me. I was kneeling on the floor guiding little Noah through simple breathing and stretching exercises. His tiny shoulders were shaking, but for once it wasn't from panic, it was from joy. "My God in heaven," Ethan bellowed, voice echoing through marble walls. "What the hell are you doing with my son?" I rose slowly, wiping my hands on my uniform, my heart hammering but my face calm. "Mr. Whitford." He hurt himself trying to climb the stairs. I just helped him calm down. "Helped him?" Ethan sneered, stalking closer, towering like he wanted to crush me with his shadow. "You're a maid, not a therapist. Don't you ever pretend you know what's best for my son." I lowered my eyes, murmured, "Of course, sir. Won't happen again." But inside, something cracked wide open. Because the truth, I wasn't just a maid. I had a master's degree in occupational therapy, 15 years of experience with children like Noah, and a reputation that once shined brighter than his imported chandeliers, until it all came crashing down. 2 years earlier, I ran the most respected child therapy center in Chicago. 6-month waiting list, hospitals begging to partner, families flying in from other states. My success rate with autistic children was called revolutionary, but that's when the wolves circled. A group of white therapists, led by a polished fraud named Dr. Henry Colton, launched a smear campaign so dirty it could rot the soul. Fake complaints, bribed inspectors, lawsuits that bled me dry. Within 18 months, I lost everything: my clinic, my savings, even my apartment. When I finally proved my innocence, my reputation was ruined anyway. No hospital would touch me. So I put on a maid's uniform, swallowed my pride, and scrubbed the floors of men like Ethan Whitford. But he didn't know any of that. To him, I was just another replaceable cleaner. And that arrogance became his fatal mistake. From that day forward, I started documenting everything. The screaming, the belittling, the way Ethan would snatch Noah's shoelaces out of his trembling fingers and bark, "Are you stupid or deaf?" It's simple. The way Noah would cover his ears, crying silently while his father rolled his eyes. I bought tiny cameras, hid them in the playroom, the dining hall. Within weeks, I had hours of footage his cruelty laid bare. What Ethan didn't know was that I still had allies. Marcus Lee, an investigative journalist, had covered my downfall years ago. He never stopped digging. And when I texted him late one night, "I've got something you'll want to see," his reply came fast: "Meet me. This could blow the city wide open." When we finally sat across from each other in a tiny downtown cafe, Marcus slid a manila folder across the table. "Sienna, you're not going to believe this." Ethan wasn't just another rich dad hiring expensive therapists. He bankrolled the very lawsuits that destroyed you, paid Colton's lawyers, bribed inspectors, and now Marcus leaned in his voice a whisper. He's planning to open his own chain of therapy clinics, using your stolen methods. My stomach turned. Rage and vindication collided like fire and gasoline. Ethan Whitford had ruined me, then stolen from me, all while parading as a devoted father. And now he was about to be honored at a charity gala as Father of the Year. That's when I knew I wouldn't just expose him. I'd dismantle everything he built. For weeks, I worked silently, camera after camera, file after file. I uncovered contracts showing how Ethan manipulated pharmaceutical stocks, betting against affordable treatments for autistic children. I recorded phone calls where he bragged about burning any evidence tied to that black woman. He didn't even say my name. To him, I was just a nuisance, something to erase. But the night of the gala, that nuisance burned his empire down. The ballroom glowed with gold trim and champagne flutes. Ethan, smug in his tuxedo, shook hands with politicians and CEOs. His son Noah dragged along like a prop. The mayor stepped up to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, before we honor our exemplary Father of the Year, Channel 12 has prepared a touching film. Ethan straightened, ready for praise. The lights dimmed. The screen lit up. Marcus's voice filled the hall. This investigation reveals how a network of medical elites destroyed a black therapist's career to protect their profits. But first, let's see how one of its architects treats his own child. The footage rolled Ethan screaming at Noah, "Stop crying like a baby. Normal kids don't do that." The audience gasped. More clips, emails where Ethan wrote, "No black woman is going to dominate my market. Destroy her." Then bank statements showing hush payments. Then phone calls. Burn everything tied to her. Ethan lurched to his feet, face pale, muttering, "This is a setup." But the FBI agents lining the walls weren't here for setup. They were here for arrest. And then the camera panned to me, sitting in the front row in a navy dress, no uniform, no lowered eyes, just steady calm. When Ethan saw me, he whispered, "Jesus Christ. How did she?" The agents closed in. Marcus took the stage. "Mr. Whitford, you are under arrest for medical fraud, stock manipulation, bribery, and child abuse." The audience erupted, some gasping, some clapping. The mayor snatched the award plaque from its stand. "This honor," she declared, "will go instead to the woman you tried to erase." I walked up, diploma in hand. "My name is Dr. Sienna Carter. I've spent 15 years helping children like Noah. This man tried to destroy me because of the color of my skin. He failed." The applause was thunderous. Ethan shouted as they cuffed him, "You don't understand. I own half the hospitals in this city." The lead agent shook his head. "Exactly why this matters. Ethan Whitford, you're finished." He was dragged out, his legacy crumbling in front of every person who once bowed to his money. Months later, I stood in the brand new Carter Center for Child Therapy, a 4-story building funded by donations from grateful families, and ironically by assets seized from Ethan himself. The garden outside rang with children's laughter. And in the middle of it all, Noah, now in the custody of his aunt, ran to me holding a drawing. "Dr. Sienna, look, I drew me and you." I knelt, tears stinging. Noah's progress in 6 months was more than his father ever thought possible. Full sentences, steady steps, smiles, real smiles. Ethan, meanwhile, sat in a federal prison, 12-year sentence, name reduced to ash. His accomplices stripped of licenses, their network dismantled. Marcus won a Pulitzer for the investigation. But the letters I received meant more than any award, mothers and fathers writing to say their children were finally getting care, finally being seen. One afternoon, Noah tugged at my sleeve. "Dr. Sienna, why didn't my daddy like me the way I am?" My throat closed. I took his hands gently. "Because your daddy was sick, sweetheart. Not in his body, but in his heart. He didn't know how to love people who were different. But you," I smiled through the tears, "you are perfect just the way you are." Years later, when the city renamed the street outside our clinic Dr. Sienna Carter Avenue, I thought back to the nights I scrubbed Ethan's marble floors, listening to him humiliate me, convinced he was untouchable. He had no idea that every word, every insult was fueling me, sharpening me, preparing me for this. The man who tried to bury me had only planted a seed, and that seed grew into a forest of justice, hope, and healing. So tell me, when someone like Ethan gets exposed, do you call it revenge or do you call it justice? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because stories like this, they're not just about me. They're about every person who's ever been underestimated, every voice that's been silenced, every child who deserved better. And if you believe the world needs more justice, more hope, more truth, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story, because the fight isn't over, and maybe, just maybe, the next victory will be yours.